What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Austin Lewis here, coming to you guys with, you know who it is, Mr. Zaback, my partner in crime here. Today's guest is very special because he's the G of all G's. I know we're going to have Uncle G on the show here actually very shortly. So we wanted to bring you guys another G, and that happens to be John Malott. Man, I'm excited. I am fired up for this show, brother.
Yes,
it is going to be sick. It is going to be sick. So
I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, we're jacked up.
That's right. That's right. So, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you tuning in, make sure and tune in to the very end of this show because it's going to be incredible. It's going to be jam-packed. As you guys can see, this guy is tall, skinny, and handsome. He's got a beautiful color of hair, but he's got wisdom, and I think that's most important. And I think it's going to be even more interesting because Austin and I actually haven't had a chance to really dive into some conversations.
No.
So we're kind of going into
this blind. You guys don't know what you're getting into.
No, we got no idea. You guys got to talk a little bit before the show.
But we talked about the weather.
Yeah, for sure.
So we're gonna really dive into what the weather actually looks like on this show. So I'm excited.
Yeah, and if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe. Drop
please.
us a comment, drop us a like, drop us a heart.
Yeah.
Drop us whatever you can.
Something.
Okay. But yeah, let's go ahead and dive into it, brother. I'm fired up for greatness, man.
The meat and potatoes.
Yeah.
John, just break it down for us, brother. I mean, I'd love to do some massive edification here, but honestly, dude, and obviously for those of you that are watching this, John is actually co-founder or owner of Build Your Empire.
Yeah, right now, CEO, co-founder, chairman of the board, janitor. I do it all.
The whole nine.
I wear all the hats right now. Yeah.
I like that. So that would be my edification if I would have chatted with John a little bit before the show. But let's just dive into it really quick. So what do you do currently right now, right? Obviously, the different industries that you might be in or the different businesses that you might be in. And what does that look and feel like? I think a lot of people that listen that are on our show and watching or listening to it on iTunes or podcast or Spotify, they're listening. And by the way, just to give you an idea, Joe Rogan did $100 million with a deal with Spotify. Me and Zaback are going to do $250 million.
All right.
That's our goal, man. You know what I mean?
I want There's
going to be a lot of people.
Remember, I was here. I helped
That's right. So people just genuinely, they really are interested in what life looks like right now. And then what does your day-to-day look like inside those organizations? And then Austin, I'll kind of just peel the onions back after that.
Man, my life is stupid, ridiculous.
I like it.
It's a lot of years up to this point. So, my DMO, daily method of operation, is I do what I want to do when I want to do it now. So I'm mainly an investor. I'm an investor in probably nine companies. Some of you might be aware of SetJet, our private jet company, which is booming right now. Interesting enough, coming. We had some interesting times, when nobody was flying, but people still wanted to fly private, and
probably maybe even more, right?
Yeah, we do the COVID test too before you get on the plane. We do we check you before you get on, so that helped. We have people that just said, "I want to get tested." I said, "Well, get on the plane, fly there and fly back." So we did that. I've got an investor in a company called Metapure, which is a pharmaceutical company, a biotech company that was supposed to go public in March on the NASDAQ, but then things happen, so we're postponing that. That'll happen probably before the election. We want to get it in before.
For sure.
Who knows what craziness is going to come after that.
Yeah.
A company called Miraculum, which is a big fire suppression company. I'm involved in a lot of IPOs. I like to play in that space. I like to get there before they get listed.
For sure.
So we put our money there. You guys seen some of the creamistry, ice cream restaurants around here. I got an investment in that. So a lot of the stuff, I don't do a lot of the day-to-day operations like I used to. I came up, doing that, running companies. Not because I knew anything about running companies, but I didn't have a choice.
Sure.
I had two choices: bum or entrepreneur.
For sure.
Bum or figure some stuff out and remain a bum. And I did bum really well. I was tired of that and made some changes. So my life is simple, man. I sleep until I'm done sleeping. I hang out with my beautiful wife.
Yep.
We travel, when there's not an epidemic taking place. We hit a lot of beaches. We live a good life, man.
That's super cool, man. Do you know Andre from Impact Church with the creamistry stuff?
Yeah. So Andre Wadsworth is my partner. Yeah,
cool.
him and I go way back.
He's a cool dude.
Yeah, Andre's a good dude.
So we went to Impact the other day. What was that? Like last week on Wednesday?
Yeah, on Wednesday.
Did they play that on Sunday?
Yeah, they did play that on Sunday.
Okay, so we were there. Yeah, so we were in the audience. We were part of the people clapping, with the sheriff and what's the coach's name?
Yeah.
I forget. I always blank.
I'd butcher it. So I ain't even going to say it.
Yeah, we should know it, man.
Yeah, I know. The Phoenix Suns coach.
Phoenix Suns coach. Winston?
See, nobody in this room.
But he's got an iPhone.
There's 5 people in this room.
He's got an iPhone, though. He's got an iPhone. Everybody's got iPhones.
Google it fast.
Anyway, so we were there.
Like a bunch of idiots.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, right.
Well, the Phoenix Suns, in defense of us, haven't done so well.
Exactly. Yeah,
that's true.
That's why we don't know that.
That's
true. I guess he's a good coach, though.
Who is it?
Yeah,
Monty Williams.
There
we go.
He's a good coach, I guess. So. Anyways, but we were there, and it was a great conversation, about kind of everything going on in the world right now.
For sure.
But anyways, I just thought that was a small world, obviously.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
cool.
I've had Pastor Travis over to the house watching UFC fights.
Oh, nice.
Because that was how I would determine, what church I would go to. Because I didn't want to be part of like the stiff, judgmental, you're going to hell type thing, and. I wanted to be around people that had a different mindset, fresh. Like you're going to heaven. I don't know you, but you're going to heaven. Instead of I don't know you, you're going to hell type thing.
Yeah.
And Andre and Travis,
Yeah.
that whole crew. Just Todd Baffo was a good friend of mine.
Mm-hmm.
He's unbelievable.
He married us.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
So Todd
crazy.
Bofa, he cracked a joke out of nowhere.
For sure.
I'm sure he had a couple in the wedding. Even, for sure.
It was fun, man. Good
He's
people.
a great guy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He does
So
our
we do Bible study
studies.
here at the office on Wednesdays,
Nice.
and just get our team together. And Todd Bofa comes and does our Bible studies and stuff like that.
I love that, man.
So-
That's good. You got to have something, man. People that don't have faith freak me out. People that don't believe in something kind of freak me out. If you don't believe it, if nothing else, that there's consequences for your actions. Because if I don't have faith that there's something bigger than this, something down the road, then I could do anything I want.
Sure.
I could take advantage of you. I can play games, and I've been down that road with a lot of people. I've got some experience in that area. So I don't mess with people that I know clearly they don't believe in anything except for themselves.
Yeah.
That's a scary deal. I don't do business with people like that anymore.
For sure.
I agree. I agree 100%.
So let's dive into this.
Yeah, I like that.
Right now, you're just the true G. You do what you want when you want. You live the Tim Ferriss lifestyle, 4-hour work week. Maybe that's not so true, right? Because I'm sure you work a whole heck of a lot more than that.
The phone is always in my pocket.
Absolutely, right? And so what did it take in order for you to actually truly get there, right? You're saying, you had multiple years of running these businesses and doing this because that was your only choice. Like, what led you to where you're currently? If you don't mind me asking, how old are you?
I'll be 50 August 31st.
You don't look at it at all.
Nah,
Thank you.
He goes, how, we were driving yesterday, Lewis, because we got another guest today too, this older as well. And he goes, how old do you think John is? Like,
More mature. I prefer you saying more mature.
Yeah.
Don't say older.
I go, I don't know. He's probably, no bullshit though. I go, I don't know. He's probably like 38, 39.
Yeah.
So that's what I actually,
Well, I
that's what I told him
appreciate
yesterday.
that.
So
Well, I hang out. My wife is 26.
Yeah,
so
it keeps you young.
Keeps
there you go.
young, man.
That's what I like to hear. I see you guys jogging around.
Always.
She's always ahead of you too. You're trailing her.
I know. I'm always chasing her for something.
Yeah,
Trust me.
exactly right.
Yeah. That's true.
That's funny.
But yeah, so speaking of that, it's like you're as old as you feel.
Right.
For me, I'm in the best shape mentally, physically, in all the areas. Like this is what I've always dreamed about. Like when I was in my 20s, I was hungry. I wanted to make stuff happen. But mentally, I wasn't there. I thought I was. My ego was there. I thought I was the greatest thing ever.
Yep.
But you start to catch on, man. I didn't have the tools. I didn't have, when I got into several companies that failed.
Right.
I caught on very quickly, man. As big as my ego was, I still was not ready, for the big leagues.
Interesting. Walk me through that a little bit. I think that's maybe even what Lewis is kind of where he was going. But so you're the younger version of yourself. I mean, did you go to college? What did that kind of look like for you?
Man, my at 15 years old was my first felony arrest. I had robbed a movie theater at gunpoint at 15. So I spent most of my teenage years locked in detention facilities. 17, the what we now know as the crack epidemic had hit our neighborhood pretty hard. I wanted to be a capitalist back then, but I didn't get the memo, don't get high on your own supply. I missed that. I had a heart attack smoking cocaine at 17 years old. There were some circumstances around this. I ended up locked up again in a facility. But it was was my first introduction to entrepreneurship because I didn't think there was a way out of my circumstances, my neighborhood, my lifestyle, all this. And there was a guy named Dave, former outlaw motorcycle gang member, who was now helping kids get their stuff together, basically. He said, your ticket out is entrepreneurship. And I laughed. I'm like, I never saw myself as a businessman.
Yeah.
That was the first guy. He gave me a book called How to Win Friends, Influence People.
Wow.
And that was a seed.
Dale Carnegie.
Man,
Boom.
that seed was planted. Things didn't happen right away because I went through a whole transition. 24 years old, I found myself sitting on the bullpen floor of Milwaukee County Jail, stitches in my head from an altercation with the police, a whole other thing around guns and stuff in my neighborhood. But it was on that bullpen floors when I made the decision at 24 years old that, yes, I was a gang member. Yes, I was a criminal. Yes, I was a loser, dropout, all the adjectives that were used to describe me, but that's who I was, not anymore. I made a decision there, and after I got through all that legal stuff, it still took me 7 years, man. Wow. From 24, it wasn't until I was 30 that I finally cracked 6 figures in a year.
Wow.
Yeah.
My first year as a full-time entrepreneur, I made a whopping $4,000.
Wow. Yeah, for sure.
Accountant was happy
just
about that
like
one.
25 years old, give or take, is when you're like your first year, you decided you're an entrepreneur, right?
Because no one else will hire me. You gotta think about it. Felonies, lack of high school education. I had all these things stacked against me, and I used them as excuses for a lot of my bad behavior as well. My sister died from a heroin overdose at 21. My brother today is still a full-blown addict in and out of prison. So I had all these excuses.
Yeah.
But I had, fortunately, man, I had, like, Jim Rohn came into my life very early. So I was being personally mentored by, Jim Rohn, a billionaire, Paul J. Meyer. And it was because of opportunities that were presented to me that they were part of, and they had an opportunity to earn income from me if I produced.
Yeah.
So I got fortunate that my mentors early on were world class. I didn't realize I was sitting at the feet of greatness at the time. You don't know.
For
like
sure.
You guys don't know how lucky you are to be sitting at this table with me right now.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's
You got all that experience, man.
That's right.
No, but we do actually. We talk about that all the time.
Absolutely.
As a matter of fact, when we started the show, I said, Austin, we're going to get more than our viewers and our listeners, because the show is an excuse to interview really cool people and learn from their mistakes and potentially be able to, make adjustments in our own life. And then obviously as a result of that, hopefully we can impact millions of people as well.
Yeah.
These platforms are so ridiculous. Yeah. Man. This stuff didn't exist back. When I was coming up, entrepreneurship was a joke.
Yeah.
If someone like me who's rolling in my Pontiac 2000, two-tone, one-tone rust, one-tone dirt, talk about being an entrepreneur,
I love it.
They were throwing rocks, talking crazy at the dinner table. Are you rich yet? I'm like, are you rich, man? You've been on the job 40 years.
Yeah.
Still in the same spot.
Yeah, I love it.
So it was difficult. And then, like, our big technology was like fax machines.
Sure.
It's like VHS tapes is how we delivered video.
Man, that's cool.
It was slow.
So you're 25. Sorry, Lewis. You're 25 years old. We interrupt each other all the time on this.
We're trying to get a little bit better than that, but it's not like
we talk over each other, man.
It's all good.
It keeps it fun though. Keeps it interesting. So you're 25 years old. You make $4,000. What are you doing at 25? You get out. You make this decision. Which, by the way, I mean, for people listening and even us, and I can't even imagine. I mean, some of the things that you mentioned a minute ago, you talk about it obviously in retrospect or looking back or whatever because you've conquered it now. But at the time, that is extremely difficult stuff, right?
Yeah.
You have all these things happening, and it isn't easy just to say, you know what, I'm going to make a decision, right? And I'm going to, here's what I'm going to do, right? Especially without social media, without being able to just go on YouTube and type in, Tony Robbins motivation.
Right.
Like, this is not easy stuff to do.
I used to sneak into Tony Robbins events.
Yeah.
Like literally sneak in.
Yep.
I've been to all his events and never paid for any of them.
For sure.
Tony,
Tony, I'm sorry, bro.
He'll write you a check
Sorry,
today.
brother.
I owe you, man. I owe you.
But so what did you start doing that allowed you to start kind of making some money? You said it took you about 5, 6, 7 years. Yeah. You're 30 years old. You make $100,000. But what did those 5 or 6 or 7 years look like?
It was hell.
Yeah.
It was painful.
For sure.
There was so many nights, sucking my thumb in the fetal position, saying, "Man, I am not an entrepreneur. I am." Your mind messes you up. And then because everybody reinforced, like, no, this is who you are.
Yeah.
You're this, and I'm trying to be that.
Yeah.
Sure.
And nobody believed, and that was the problem. And so the first year when I made $4,000 for the whole year, that sucked. It was terrible. I'm a full-time entrepreneur, made $4,000.
Yeah.
It was the second year I made $16,000. Now that's not a big deal, except for if you take in consideration the percentage of growth.
Sure.
Yeah.
So
what is that? 400%?
Yeah. Well, I didn't know that because I didn't graduate from high school.
Yeah.
So thanks for doing the math.
Right. So 4 times.
Yeah. So I'm like, man, imagine if that was you got a 400% raise on your job. How,
sure.
What would that look like? So that's what started happening. And then when I finally cracked the 6 figures on the 7th year, the next year went to 224,000. Then exponential growth because the companies we were building. Then it went to $1 million, then 2 million. Then I was, rolling in $250,000 a month residual income. So that allowed me to do anything I wanted. When I made so many mistakes in business. I've owned real estate companies. I've owned mixed martial art, cage fighting companies, restaurants, nightclubs, publishing company. Man, I've had so many things, and most of them didn't work so well. Yeah. But I had $250,000. I had from $50,000 to $250,000 a month
in this
residual
passive income, right?
So
if you made it, if you failed, it's like,
The goose was still laying the golden egg because I had a mentor that said, build the cash flow machine first. Build that machine, then you can go and do all kinds of things. And Mark Twain one time said, I only had a couple of breakthroughs, but it kept me in pipe tobacco my whole life. I think what he was saying, man, you only need a couple big hits.
For sure.
And you're set. And that's what happened. It put me in a position. More than just the money, though, it's what I became going through all of that stuff. Learning this stuff. Getting beat up, beat down, bloodied. Made a big difference.
That's wild. I like that.
This is valuable.
Yeah.
I mean, already, I mean, I don't know how far we are into this, but you got to be taking notes if you're listening. I'm going to go back and rewatch this already. The trials and tribulations are what'll make you.
Yeah. For
So,
sure.
did you have a question, Austin?
Yeah, I did. I wanted to go back just a little bit in the time of... This dude gives you a book, and it's How to Win Friends and Influence People. You're still in a jail cell, or still
it was a drug rehabilitation
center.
But it was a locked unit in this thing.
And I'll be honest with you. I grew up very privileged individual. My parents got by, made decent money. Every time I went to Toys R Us, they would tell me either yes or no. It just depended on how my mom's 100% Irish, so it just solely dictated
how much she was drinking that day.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
I'm Irish too,
and it just depended on what her mood was, if she said yes or no. So, what I'm trying to think about right now is this dude hands you a book, and you're in this I can't even say the word rehabilitation center. You've probably at this current time, I mean, I don't know a lot about a lot, but it makes sense. Success leaves clues. You probably have not ever read a book in your life, okay?
No.
I would imagine.
No, books were not my thing.
Yep.
No. And at 24, this dude hands you a book. That couldn't have been easy to read that.
No, the book is difficult to read if you are a reader.
Yeah,
it's not exciting.
No, for sure.
I think it says in the front cover, to leave it on your desk and read it, a few
multiple times.
I had to go through that thing. It's like when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. So a lot of the stuff, I just wasn't ready for. It's like when I read Think and Grow Rich, there was so much stuff in there. I was like, man, I got nothing out of this book. But later on, I went back to it and I'm starting to pull things. So same thing happened there. But what I did get out of it is that I was a jerk. And that if I continued on the path I was going, I was going to get nowhere. And that was the biggest thing that came out of it. It took me a long time to read that book. And I think even bigger than that, it planted a seed of personal development. That, there's some information out here that I don't have access to or haven't had, and I need to figure out how to get more of this. And that personal development,
that gives me the goosebumps. I mean, I
like
love what you just said, actually, too. I don't know if the viewers and listeners caught that, but you said that the teacher appears and the student is ready. And it makes all the sense in the world. I've read books before, and I've listened to an audio or whatever, and it's almost like watching a movie 2 or 3 times in a row, right? You like, oh, man, I didn't even see that the first time,
Like they put something in it.
Like that. There's no way that's the same movie, right? But that's so impactful because I talk to people people hit us up. They probably hit you up, John, all the time, but people are like, man, what? And it's like they've already read all these books and done all this stuff. It's like, go back, reread it, rewatch it, re-listen to it, go back through the course again. Go back, just go back, and you must have missed something, right?
Yeah.
So I love that.
I like that.
It's really powerful.
And a good thing my mentor always says, Zaback always knows this, but a thought in motion continues in motion unless it's acted upon by an outside, whatever, right? And let's talk about from 4 to 16 to 100K. That couldn't have been difficult then because of your past, right? And your peers, right? I'm sure I don't know what your circle was like. So talk to that because I think there's a lot of people out there right now that, I mean, Austin, I went through this. My first year, I mean, like you said, it was like $6,000. It was in network marketing. I remember the company like it was yesterday. I got $6,000. I'm fired up. My mom says, Austin, go get a job. You know what I mean? Yeah. And very similar for this cat. He was making more money at age 8 than I think most people that are actually watching on cameras here. I'm sorry, guys, but he's just a stud.
Don't we hate people like that? Man, they're like the swans on the lake.
Yeah, right. Sure. But there's a lot of people. We went from 6 to 16, like you said, from 4 to 16 to 18 to 50 to 100 to 500 to 700 to 3 million. You know what I mean? Talk to us through that. Just that whole path, I guess.
And to add on to what you said is because a lot of, I think for us at least, that first the 100 is like this, dude. It's the hardest number in the world, and I'd love to know if it was for you too. Because for us, that 100, I mean, I know, and I talked to a lot of people where they're like, Austin, like, first 100 grand was really difficult.
Yeah,
man. That was I was part of an organization where they would give you a ring when you hit $100,000. So everybody wanted that ring.
Oh yeah.
So it was it was that for me. It was the toughest part because I when I left out of the rehabilitation facility, I had already burnt all my bridges. When I got out of Milwaukee County Jail, I didn't have much. I had a daughter at that time.
Yeah.
You know, I lived in the same neighborhood. I was still stuck. I didn't have a network. I didn't have contacts. I burned most of those bridges, you know, being who I was. You know, when I had a cocaine habit, the cocaine habit I had no job, I had no money, but I never missed an opportunity to get high.
Yep.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. There was no time off.
Yeah.
So the things I did to get that money, I'm not proud of. But I realized, you know, that a lot of that stuff actually made me who I am today. And I understand. And I had a mentor that came in and said, look, I can teach anybody business skills. You know, I can teach you business skills, but I can't teach anybody street smarts. He says, you have an advantage. So he convinced me I had an advantage in the marketplace, which took me a long time mentally to get that down.
Oh, yeah.
But the trek was very difficult because nobody was opening up doors for, you know, back then I couldn't speak without cuss words coming out. I couldn't. I didn't look right. I mean, everything about me looked like a mess. Like who was going to hire me? Nobody really wanted to be around me, want to talk to me. So I had to clean everything up. That's why, like, I know it's cool now for all the entrepreneurs to cuss like, you know, sailors and everything else. And I get it, you know. But for me, because I went so long coming from that, and so many doors were closed because of the way I used my language, because of the way I carried myself, I made a decision that, okay, this I have to continue, because you're always going to alienate certain people. My thing became like, I watch what I say. I don't talk about politics. I don't talk about religion. I don't talk about football, because someone's going to hate you. Especially nowadays, you can't even have opinion.
Right. Exactly.
Man, they will kill you. They'll be out here.
Yeah.
So I stay out of it. I've learned that, look, I had a mentor that said, look, you want everybody's money.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a selfish thing, because Paul J. Meyer was a guy who was giving away, at the time of his death, he was giving away 100% of every dollar he made. 80-some years old, this guy was climbing mountains, scuba diving. He was an inspiration to me.
Yeah.
And, you know, for most of his life, he was giving away 50% of every dollar he made. He wrote books on the art of giving, and I inherited a fortune. It was always just talking about why he worked to give money away. But he said, look, you don't want to alienate it. You want everybody on your team. You know, black, white, you know, all religions, all walks of life. And so I got a hold of that. And I said, look, I can, if I'm cussing on your show, you know, F this, F that, there's going to be a certain percentage that are not going to like me just because I did that.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's going to be some that love me for sure.
Yeah.
But you're not, if you like people that cuss, you don't dislike people that don't cuss.
You
follow me?
Yeah.
So I've learned that as a young person. I was like, okay, I got to do whatever I can to give myself an advantage in the marketplace, because I had given myself so many disadvantages, and I kept blaming everybody and everything, police, teachers, you know, dad, my mom left, all this stuff. What was me? And it was Dave again, my mentor in drug rehab, that put the mirror up and said, no, bro, this is you. You made an appointment to be here. He said, quit whining, quit being a little baby. You know, he said other words, but
sure.
Get your shit together and let's go make something happen. And that's what it was. It was very difficult. That process, again, everybody laughed.
Right.
You know, in the book Think and Grow Rich, they talk about the reason why so many have so little and so few have so much is because they listen to family and friends. And I got caught up in that from time to time, listening to family and friends. And you know, that's when I would take weeks off and be in my pity party, and I would lose all that momentum. And you ever see those old-fashioned water pumps, like in the farms, you pump, and it takes forever before the water comes up. But once it gets going, the thing's moving good.
Just a well.
If you walk away from it, though, all that water goes back down. You got to do it again. So what I started teaching people is the slight edge philosophy. Just every day I did something. If it meant 15 pages of a good book every day, that became my habit. And we talk about it now. Now it's everybody's catching on. Get your habits right, and your life will get right. So I just started picking during that time. I just started getting very good habits. You know, I wasn't sleeping till I was done sleeping, like I am.
Right. Yeah. So now you can do it a little bit differently,
way
right?
different.
And dude, I mean, what you're talking about is like fire, like fire. Like this, is like really, really good information from what I'm hearing too, and everybody else. Like a lot of it's basically everything's mindset, right? Like you had to, in order for you to make $100,000, right? In order for you to go from $4,000 to go from zero, right? To get out of, to put the past behind you and say, okay, I'm gonna start as an entrepreneur, right? I'm gonna make, and then you make $4,000, $8,000, $100,000. It sounds like to me a really good majority of that process was getting your mind right.
That was the whole process.
Like that's unbelievable to me, right? Because so many people, they're like, I get messages all the time, John, and they're like, Austin, what do I invest in? Austin, should I invest in the stock market or should I invest in real estate? Austin, should I invest in Bitcoin or Ethereum? I say investing your mind.
First, foremost.
Right?
Foundation.
Yeah.
You know, one of my mentors told me a long time ago when I was getting into real estate, he said, Austin, the most expensive real estate you'll ever own is the 6 inches between your ears.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That's the thing. So when I people come to me now because we have a mentoring group. We got this big group. Last night we had you guys know Debo. Tommy's been in 300 movies. He's one of my great friends. So I had him on last night. We talked about a lot of this stuff. When I see someone comes to me and they want their whole life changed overnight. That's what everybody wants.
Of
Poof,
course.
you're now a millionaire living
Yeah.
in the big house.
Microwave syndrome.
Yeah. So what I show people is, look, you're focusing on the wrong stuff. We're focusing on the results, and this is everything. And we focus on the results, but the results. I get that, but where do the results come from? The results came from your behaviors, from your activity, your actions, your attitude, your expectations, your belief, but it all started from your thinking.
Yeah.
So whenever I'm trying to adjust somebody or help them get better results, I just work backwards right down. You don't need an attitude adjustment like our parents said or our teacher said. What you need is we need to reprogram this up here. So that's where I focus everything at first. So the foundation is always going to be, for me, it was putting new information to push out the old information, because the mind is only holding on to about 50 to 75,000 thoughts, but we're regurgitating the same stuff over and over. And for me, it was like eating a junk food diet 24 days, 7 days a week, all just replaying, I suck, this terrible, and we see it now. People are out in the streets yelling stuff that's programming their subconscious. They don't even realize it, the potential effects. Now, I'm not here, to put that down or any ways. I think it'd be better if we had some positive affirmations if we're going to be out protesting, rather than negative stuff. Because what does that create? The ripple effect. And all this stuff, in my opinion, gets put out into the universe.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And we're all connected, black, white, whatever. We're connected by energy. We're connected somehow. And whatever you're putting out there, man, I know when I go to bed tonight, my subconscious kicks in to go to work on the things that are supposed to happen for me.
For sure.
Yeah.
And it depends on what I'm feeding this.
Right.
Forget what I'm feeding my body. We already eat like crap. We feed our bodies terribly, but people are feeding their minds even worse.
For sure.
Yeah.
We're neglecting the most important thing we have. And you said it, the 6 inches.
Yeah,
I love that.
It's extremely, it's on another level of important, right? I mean, people massively underestimate, the value of feeding your mind the right information. And it's just and it's simple too. I think that's another reason why people overlook it, is because of how simple. You talked about it, right? You're like, read 15 minutes of a good book every day. Simple, sometimes people just overlook that because they're like, 15 minutes, come on. Yeah. But they forget about the compound effect.
Yeah.
Compound.
15 minutes over the course of 365 days.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You read some books, my friend.
You have separated yourself from 90% of the planet.
There it is right there.
For sure.
That's exactly right.
What's easy to do is also easy not to do. Jim Rohn, baby.
Yeah. Jim Rohn, that's my guy.
That's
right.
Dude. Stud, man.
On another level.
Let's talk about this, just because Austin and I, we're on the, we're sitting in the steam room or something, or sauna the other day at the Lifetime Biltmore. And he's like, "What time?"
You guys are super high end.
We just started going there, man. We just started going.
No, you guys might be too bougie.
No. I told, but you know what? I told him, I'm like, man, I gotta go to a gym where they got a good sauna and a good steam room. I love to sweat, man, and we'd always go to these cheap gyms where the saunas and the steam rooms are just dirty.
It's the sauna is cooler than it is outside.
Yeah, dude. I'm like, come on, man. I'm gonna go sit in my car and in the parking lot.
Might as well stand up.
Man.
No, you're good, dude. You're good. So. I know this probably, and this is the first actual episode that we're gonna actually even we're gonna ask these questions, but I know it might not pertain so much to you, but we were like, I want to know what time that the average person right now is going to bed. And now obviously I say average because we're not average, right? Yeah. But we're just average. We are average people with just above average goals and dreams. But however, what time do you go to bed? What are some of those habits, right? We're talking about the daily habits that eventually, they do create you a millionaire, right? Yeah. Depending on what that, like Austin said, 15 minutes a book times 365, baby, you're reading. Yeah. You know what I mean? So that's a habit. So what are some of your daily habits? And then what time do you go to bed? And then the one question that we had to ask you, and I'm just curious, man. Because obviously, typically, right, it takes 21 days to create a habit. You right now, you can wake up whenever you're done sleeping, but typically you wake up the same amount of time that you usually wake up. What time is that? There was 30 questions inside.
Yeah.
So let's start with,
what does your day look like, right?
Yeah. So
habits.
My habits, of course, still reading. My wife and I do our gratitude thing every single morning when we get up, and we do some affirmations, because I believe in that. I believe in telling, and not only do I do affirmations myself, but we tell each other affirmations. So it's nice when you got someone you can do that with. So and then it's hard to be grateful these days, because no matter where you are today, there's someone bigger, faster, better, richer.
So
it's easy to get caught up in all oh man, and then you get depressed about I'm so far over that, it's ridiculous now. I could care less. If you got 20 Rolls Royces and I only have one. Or
what I mean?
Yeah,
for sure.
So for me, that's a big part of it. Now at night we do this. We do some meditation. Because for me, I have ADD and 4 other conditions, so it's hard to shut this thing down.
Yeah.
So we do these. We use Headspace. The app.
That's
and
a good app.
Some meditation to bring me down. Every now and then I'll smoke a little weed. That's just something I'm experimenting with.
Yeah.
There's a show on Netflix I think about LSD. I'm thinking maybe I need to try some of that too. Who knows?
Some mushrooms or something.
Yeah, we haven't gone. I want to see unicorns and rainbows and stuff, but no, I haven't gone that far yet. But so I go to. I don't have a set time because I like to play too now. Part of the reason why do you want to get wealthy? You want to get wealthy just to have stacks of cash in a bedroom?
No.
I could care less about that. For me, it's about experiences. So I like to head out. We've been locked in the house for a while. So, last night we went out and, we were in Old Town and had some drinks. And so I don't think we got to bed until about 1. Mm-hmm. And then, but always it seems like the built-in clock is around 8 a.m. Around 8 a.m. is, when we wake up and we start the gratitude thing. Yep. And then it's always, like I tell people, don't look at your mail. Don't watch the news or social media before you go to bed because of all the negativity, especially right now, man. Because again, that stuff is replaying.
Oh, yeah. Right.
You ever get a song stuck in your head?
Oh yeah.
I have that song stuck in my head. I can't sleep because the damn song is in my head.
Yeah.
It's like, so that the big thing for me is reading. The other thing I make sure we have our 10 core commitments. I'm active in a business, right now where we're providing a nutrition product based on DNA. So customized nutrition product. I'm real excited about it. I think it's going to be a big deal. We went from 0 to last month, I think 2 million in revenue. So
that's insane.
We think it's the future delivery of supplements because it's customized to the individual.
DNA. Got it.
Yeah. Anyway, so we have 10 core commitments around that. And part of that is just, me using an app that we developed that automated everything and doing 2 to 5 exposures, which is basically pressing a button, sending a video to someone, and do that 2 to 5 times every day, no matter what. So I can get that duplicating. I can get that. We talk about scaling. I consult for a lot of companies. I consult with and mentor a lot of entrepreneurs. So a lot of it's about duplication. It's about scaling businesses. So a lot of the things we do are simple things that I'm teaching. Like you said, network marketing, like a part-time person that could do. Sally Homemaker's home wants to make an extra $1,000 a month. Well, if I've got 10 things she can do, 10 commitments, and then she's got 5 things in her daily method of operation that she could do, then she can get that duplicating. That's where people mess up.
Right.
Because they think they got to become great salespeople. I teach people how to use high tech and high touch, use the technology we got today. And then, so again, these are just like simple disciplines for me. But I don't have again, my habits have carried over forever. Reading. I'm always, if I'm in the gym, guaranteed I got Audible on. I'm listening to something. Right now, I'm listening to about Marcus Aurelius.
Okay.
And,
so
you
go to the
guys
gym.
Were smart back in the day, man. You go back to to the Bible. The stuff they wrote in there is. It's applicable today.
It is.
People don't realize that Jim Rohn was almost all of his message comes straight from the Bible, but he's packaged it so that anybody could take it and not be weird about it.
Yeah. For sure. I love it. So you go to the gym too.
We go to the gym every day. That's the habit, man. That's what keeps me rolling. My wife forces me to go in.
For sure.
But I always come out and I feel great. Like I go in kicking and screaming, like, I don't want to do this.
Always. Yeah.
But she makes me do it. She's the damn drill sergeant. I go in and then I come out like, man, fresh and ready.
Yep. Yeah. So, ready to rock and roll, take on the world.
You got to be in movement, man. You can't get momentum if you're not in movement. Movement creates emotion. Emotion then leads to, we can go on down a deep road.
Sure. No, I love it, man. I think it's really, really, really important that you said so many things actually on the pod or on this show so far in the podcast that it's hard for me to even there's just so much. People are going to have to go back and rewatch, including us, obviously. But one of the biggest things that I like is just the little things over and over and over and over and over again, right? And the gaining of momentum and the actual what you just finished off on was just the action, the movement of just doing something. And like you were saying, I think you said a little while ago, look, even if you just got one good thing done in a day, right? Rather than nothing. It's you at least did one thing that was, for maybe an hour, 2 hours, couple hours, whatever, that moved the needle closer to your goal, closer to where you're trying to go, right? And one of the other big things that I really liked, Austin, if you heard him talk about this, was just focus, not really looking at the end goal, but rather the things that are going to get you to that goal. And that ties right into just doing the little things. Because so many people are just focused on the Lambo or the house or the jet or the yacht or the money or whatever it is. That they get, you almost kind of drown yourself out, right? Because it's you never feel like you're making any progress because the goal's so damn big. Excuse my language, but the goal's so freaking big, right? That it's and so all of a sudden you get frustrated. Now you're in a bad mindset. The vibration's wrong. and then you don't do the little things.
Well, it can be discouraging. Think about where now we got this whole thing that's happening with the protesting, and we all saw what happened to Mr. Floyd, and I think it moved the entire nation. But you have a group of people that are looking at Mount Everest, but before they get to Mount Everest, there's barbed wire, there's all these things, that it's like, man, I got to get to the top of this damn mountain. So in a lot of cases, they don't climb. Most, doesn't matter if you're black or white, look at Mount Everest and don't climb it.
For sure.
Yeah.
But when you're a certain color, and then you've got extra stuff, extra layers.
Yep.
So the struggle's not like, it doesn't take away from my struggle, but I didn't have barbed wire and all this stuff in front of the mountain. And so that's a lot of what I talk about with people, is that we all are going to have our struggle. It's going to be different for you, different for me. When I'm mentoring, kids from the inner city, I tell them, I said, look, and they've been told this anyhow, usually you're going to have to work harder, but most people don't do it no matter what. Doesn't matter black, white, whatever. Don't do it.
I agree 100%.
Because it's a lot, man. Because you said it. If the goal is this big, when we first see it, man, we got the lighters out. We're down. I'm getting that Lambo next week.
For sure.
For sure. And then you see the other people on the mountain. And that's that's a whole other thing, obviously, right?
And let's talk about that. You know what I mean? I think we do have conversations with every single one of our guests, and that is, typically like what, like how do you not compare yourselves to other individuals? I mean, with social media, it's the easiest thing to do today, and people listening to this and watching it right now are comparing themselves, whether they think they are or they aren't. Subconsciously, they have to be. If they're on Instagram, they're comparing themselves to other individuals, and I mean, even us. Recently,
at times,
at times I'm like, dude, we're not.
Look at
doing
this guy.
anything.
Look at that cat right there.
he's like, look at this dude.
So
he
bad.
just got that new car. He just got that new deal. What the heck you think he's doing? You know what I mean?
You've got to guard the mind, man. Right. You got to realize that you have your purpose. You have your thing, and on top of that, social media, most of it's lies anyhow. It's like it's
gross revenue.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, exactly.
Almost. I mean, it's like a way. You know what I mean?
When I hear some of these numbers, I'm like, but they didn't tell you. I got a e-commerce business, and they say I brought in $1 million, but they didn't tell you that they spent $1 million.
Sure.
Yeah, of course.
It's been $900,000 to get there, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So there's a lot of smoke and mirrors.
Right.
But again, focusing on that's why personal development is so huge for me, because I'm the same way, man. I look at some of the stuff and I'm like, man, what a loser I am.
For sure.
So I'm careful of scrolling too much, on other people's stuff. I get focused on, okay, well, I'm going to put up my content. People like it, great. They don't, great. I just got to keep moving.
Right.
But you have to, man. And I've been I tell my kids the same thing, man. You have to guard your mind, because people are trying to piss in your ear constantly. And they want to take you out of the game.
Yeah. They do.
They really do. They don't want to see you guys win.
No, of course not.
You have people clapping, but those little golf claps. You ain't with me.
For sure.
And people are all. And then I have a lot of people that show up. Hands look like cups. Now they're like, I was with you the whole time. I'm man, you liar.
Yeah.
It's like now
you disappeared for a few years. You know what I mean?
And I heard you. I heard what you were saying.
Yeah.
I heard what you were saying.
For sure.
You have to prepare yourself for that. And I always tell people, be careful. What you wish for, because the thing you think you want may not be what you want. My mentor said, with great wealth comes great responsibility. And I've had more attacks on my character. I've had more attacks since I became. Nobody cares, when you're not doing anything.
Yeah.
But as soon as you start movement, as soon as things start happening, everyone's throwing rocks. Oh, it's because of this, because of that. Everyone's got a reason why you became rich.
Sure.
He got lucky. I'm like, man, I wasn't lucky. While you were at the club, I was reading books. While you were at the beach, this is what I was doing. While you were smoking, anyhow, I was getting my mind right. I was getting prepared to play the game.
Yeah.
And I don't know who said it. Some famous old dude said, if you got, chop down a tree, you got 4 hours. Spend 3 hours sharpening the axe, and then 1 hour chopping down the tree. That was always my mindset. If I'm going to go attack someone, if I'm going to start a company, I'm going to do a business, I'm going to take the time to reverse engineer where I'm trying to go. Take that time, get the foundation right, then go do the thing. Otherwise, you're chopping down trees with dull axes, wondering why you're not getting anywhere.
Oh yeah,
and that's what most people are doing today.
I think there's like there's like jiffies on that example. There's a dude actually trying to chop down the tree with the dull axe. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
like the cartoon, the little cartoon deal.
Yeah, and the ice and all that good stuff.
Sure. Getting nowhere, just
getting nowhere. Yeah.
Looking like you're doing, but people do a lot of stuff that it looks like they're doing stuff.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, getting nowhere
busy
fast.
Work.
Well, even like this. Think about this. Everyone's doing podcasts right now. So you guys already said while you're doing it. So there's a difference. If you're doing a podcast, just do a podcast. Because you got to figure out, how do I monetize the podcast? Because now my time's involved. For me, everything's about my time. What's my time worth if I do this? But if you do it right, which I think you guys are doing, you get the right people on. Now these become connections. I've connected to so many people. When I did Brad Lee's podcast, I don't know.
The real Bradley?
Yeah, the real.
He's a cool dude.
Yeah. As opposed to the fake. As a matter of fact, he was just texting.
As opposed to fake Bradley, right?
Yeah. Him and I are doing some business together right now. But it's funny because I met him in Vegas a couple years ago, did his podcast, and now today
I think I listened to that podcast.
We have a business. You know, we're doing business together.
That's
we're
cool.
earning money together. So there was a situation where nobody got paid for that time.
Yeah.
But now we're getting paid for that.
You're
time.
just planting the seeds, right? You're planting the seed. You know. And these you definitely shouldn't start a podcast if you're just trying to make money. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, look, I mean,
you'll be in the hole quite a bit.
Yeah, or social media in general. I think I think a lot of people. It's like, look, if you want to do social media, it's going to take years and years and years before you monetize your social media, right? I don't care who you are. I mean, unless you know. So, like you got to make sure you already have the money. You already are doing business, right? And then do social media and have that be the kind of the icing on the cake, right? Because some people, it's like their whole deal is social media. It's like, well, what, I mean, and I don't, hate to be a pessimist, but it's like, what if something happens to, you got nothing, there's no brick and mortar business. There's there's nothing to fall back on, tangibly speaking, right? There's just you got one Amazon FBA store, cranking out these numbers. What if Jeff Bezos decides to shut that down?
Change the game.
And it could happen just like that. Diversify, right?
You have to diversify. I think you should become great in whatever it is you're going after. Sure. But you've got to have an eye on okay, here's the next move. Mm-hmm. Here's the things I'm planting seeds for. You have to be doing that today. Yeah. And social media is interesting because we obviously get a great feeling out of getting likes and comments. Some people will take that forever over the money.
Yep,
for sure.
They will.
And I think what's happened, and unfortunately I see it with a lot of young people that I mentor. They're so caught up in the likes and the comments that they've now built their whole persona around it. They believe the stuff that they put out to the point where they're really broke. Yeah. But if you look at their social media, you would never know. Yeah. So they've created this lie in their head that they've told it so. Someone.
I know people that live at the Optima. Right here, dude. I walk by their car on the way up. You know what I mean? Yeah. I tell you right now, right? I ain't gonna say no names, but gosh dang.
Oh, I think I know some of them.
Right? But that's just the reality of it. There's 805 residents here at the Optima Sonoran Village. It's one of those places where look, at the end of the day, it's cool. It's a good vibe. It's a cool vibe. And look, I mean that's what. If you want people to think, perception's reality, right?
Perception is reality.
Here's where you're going to move.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So, I love it, man. I love it.
Interesting.
Did you have a question, Austin, too?
No, I just was thinking.
Austin's watch is
he's
blinding me.
Yeah, he's just like
his watch is blind. I'm like, I like the bling.
Yeah.
I see you like the bling too.
Yeah, I can't help it.
What kind of watch is that?
This is my wife bought this for me.
Thanks, wife.
It's a good looking watch.
It's got some dude's name on it. Man, all my watches are now for telling time.
I like it.
I have Rolex. I have a whole collection, and none of them actually tell time.
Yeah. Oh no.
Well, when I put the Rolex on, it starts spinning. But I don't.
Yeah.
This is the phone.
That's the only thing you need.
The phone does everything.
For sure.
What I love about a watch is you walk in somewhere and people just like that right there, right? It's a credibility thing.
Yeah.
For sure.
It's just like that guy knows what he's doing.
That's a blinger. I like that.
Yeah.
I got a nice little Rolex collection.
Yeah.
So I was admiring that.
You got a gold one.
Yeah. I've got a couple presidentials. I got a Daytona.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
For sure.
I just got to make more money.
So I guess I just wanted just real quick. You're a part of multiple different companies, multiple different ventures. You said in the beginning, serial entrepreneur, investor, right? You invest, and things like that. What does kind of the future look like for you now? I mean, are there things that you're passionate? You were talking a minute ago about a couple different companies you're really passionate about, obviously, right? What does that look and feel like?
Right now, I'm passionate about health and fitness. I got this whole thing. Look, I'm about to be 50, man. I want to be fit at 50. Mm-hmm. I want to be ridiculous, man. I want to take my shirt off at the beach and be like, dang, type of thing. My wife does that right now, but I think she's lying. She knows she has to. But I have this thing because, look, man, I made commitments to my family. Mm-hmm. And for me to not be healthy, for me to not be in shape, for me to neglect that, it's a slap in their faces. So right now for me, helping people make health a habit, and that's a big deal for me right now. So we're building this whole ecosystem around that. We're a one-stop shop for all things customized. Like I like the customized. So I think that we're about 99.9% the same, but it's that little like how can one guy smoke cigarettes his whole life, live to be 100, some other guy smells secondhand smoke and gets cancer.
For sure.
It's like so we know there's those little differences. So we're focused in on what are those differences, where are those weaknesses coming from? Is that genetics? What is that? Also, we're tapping into that in a big way. So we see some big things happen. We're building a massive digital platform around that. So for me, I see that's the next $1 billion a year play. We're inviting a lot of people to the table, helping a lot of people make money. That's what I do.
I love it.
But so health is the big one. You know, and then I'm stacking cash. People keep asking me the same thing. Where are you investing in? Man, it's a weird market, bro. Like today, the market just collapsed.
It's just tanking, bro. I bought some shares of I actually made money, but I sold at the perfect time. You saw probably VTIQ. They did the Nikola deal, and they went from $29 like a week and a half ago or whatever to 90 or something like that, and then it's like insane.
I got some good. You know, Dan Fleischman's a good friend of mine. We're in a group thread that's constantly given, you know, they're always got these tips on stocks, man. And I people hit me all the time. Should you buy big? All this. Right now, I don't know, man. Right. I'm afraid to give someone advice on anything right now because we're in such an uncertain time. And unless you're in there all the time, like I can't stare at a screen all day anymore.
Yeah, for sure.
I did the whole first Bitcoin rise from, you know, like we bought in at, I don't know, 1,200 and rode it to like 20,000.
Oh, wow.
And then I was trying to get out. You know, so we turned like 100,000 into, you know, the goal was to take 100,000, turn it into 1 million. We were right there, and then it started coming. You know how fast it comes back.
Oh yeah.
So we got out, but we did really well. But I don't mess around with the financial stuff with other people because if I'm not watching it every single day, I feel like I can't give you advice, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Because what I would do for me at this stage is probably different. And so unless I'm going through like your whole thing, so people are always asking this stuff.
I love it.
But I want to stack some serious cash to be prepared for whatever the next crazy thing that we're not prepared for. You know what I'm saying? I want to in the new house that we're building, I want to have the bunker in there.
Yeah.
I'm going to have the turrets on the roof.
Oh yeah.
So just in case, man.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to have lots of toilet paper, a room filled with toilet paper.
Oh yeah. It'll be valuable, man. Worst case, you can sell it. You know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Sheesh.
So that's I see. You know, I want all my kids here. I got 4 daughters. I want them all in Arizona. So you know, we're just gearing up for that. I want lifestyle stuff.
Yeah.
Man. All the cars, all the stuff, had all that. I think it's great. You know, I love it. But I don't need it anymore. You know, I need to make sure the family is secured. I want generations of mine.
Generational wealth.
Generation wealth, man. I want my family secured. Now I'm going to probably stick around, you know, for way longer than some of the family wants me to stick around for. But
you said you travel a lot. You like experiences. Where's the favorite place you ever traveled?
It's funny. South Korea.
No way.
I love South Korea. Matter of fact, I was doing events, 25, 30,000 people in auditoriums where we're speaking at in South Korea. Some of the most incredible people, hospitality, food, all the boxes were checked for me, man. They just treated us like kings there.
Yeah.
So South Korea.
Is it touristy or like what is it?
No, what's interesting about South Korea is like they just came up in like the last 10 years. It wasn't long ago. They were a third world country, man. But it's interesting how they do stuff. Like when you walk up to an escalator, it starts when you walk up to it, which seems to make sense from an energy conservant. We are driving across these brand new bridges where the lights didn't come on until the cars there were no cars, the lights would come way down.
Yeah.
So it was cool like to see how they, you know, really took into consideration energy and conservation. And I mean, they're just brilliant people and clean. I really like South Korea is an incredible spot.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's really cool. I like it. We've never obviously.
If you're single guys, I'll tell you when I first got there as a single guy, my friend picked me up from the airport. He said, "Welcome to man's paradise."
Okay.
And then for the next 2 weeks, he proceeded to show me why it was man's
Why it was
paradise.
called that,
I highly recommend to go.
All right. Well,
you'll never guess it until
South
you get there.
Korea.
Okay.
Hey,
for sure. I've been to Amsterdam, so you know
I haven't been there, man.
Yeah,
I've not been there. I need to go there.
That's one of those places too. I'll tell you what, you know, you could go one of two ways when you get there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'll just leave it at that.
Greece is another spot, man. I love Greece.
We want to go to. I want to go to Greece really bad. That'd be really cool.
Greece is a great spot.
So many spots to go.
I know, dude.
The history there is just insane.
That's why I know what you mean with experiences. Like you can't, having a cool car is cool. Don't get me wrong. I love cars and stuff like that. But there's nothing like just hopping on an airplane, flying somewhere and seeing new things, eating new food, meeting new people.
Yeah.
You know, zip lining through the jungle, whatever. Like, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And even the mountain of growth that comes from it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Getting out of your comfort zone, going to a place, city, people that you don't know. And I mean, that we almost did it in 2019 religiously. Just because we got so many ideas. You get out of your little bubble that you're currently in, your everyday motion, Wolf of Wall Street stuff, right? And then you fly somewhere. I mean, you know, we just went to Seattle, and I mean, Seattle, it was right before Rona hit too, and we come up with a couple of our new ventures that are just rocking and rolling, and that would only happen if we have done that stuff like that. You know what I mean?
You get into the grind. And sometimes you're just not as creative as you could be if you just kind of get out and
you got to get out.
Yeah,
you got to get that reset. You got to get a fresh scenery. You got to get fresh faces. You know, my wife and I went to Israel not that long ago, and And it was amazing, the spiritual experience. Even though I didn't go there for the spiritual experience, I went there because we were marketing a product from the Dead Sea, a skincare product. But to walk on the same path that Jesus did, and to see where crazy, all these religions came from, and all and then to learn about the fights and all the stuff that was happening there, kind of the cradle of civilization, and that was amazing. And then and then one time I took, when my kids were little, they were fighting over electronics, iPads, video game stuff. So I said, all right, I took them into the mountains in the Dominican Republic.
Yep.
And they got to see kids that lived in shacks.
Yeah.
The only running water they had is they ran and got the water.
Yeah.
And they got to experience this whole other thing, where there was no money there. Kids didn't have shoes. And I'll never forget my Jessica's. She was on the back. We were riding one of these 4-wheelers coming out of this town that we stayed in. And she was like, "Daddy, can we buy all these people houses?" And like, she felt it, and you can see now, like, she was the first one protesting. I'm saying, be careful, man, because I don't want my kids to get hurt, because there's a lot of crazy stuff happening. Yeah. But you can see that the seed was planted. Now she's, what is Jess? She'll be 21. Well, Old Town nightclub owner, she's 21 now.
She's already 21.
She's already 21. But she, you can see it now. What is it? 15 years later.
Right.
Yeah.
The heart that she has developed, because if you want to end racism, travel. Go break bread with people that don't look like you.
For sure.
Yeah.
And what I figured out is that we all want about the same thing, man. Yeah. We all want to do better. We all want our families to do better. All these different things, and we, we get too hung up in the day-to-day stuff. So sometimes get out of that, look around, meet some new people, break bread with someone that doesn't look like you, make some friends with somebody that don't look like you, and all of a sudden now you got some new ideas. Next week I have a mentoring program, and I had Debo. Tommy Lister, who his character in the movie Friday with Ice Cube was based on a guy by the name of Big U, who was one of the most notorious gang members in L.A., Compton, the whole bit. Big U's coming next week to do a show. Big U went to prison for like 10 years, but he's one of the guys that was instrumental in bringing Crips and Bloods together, creating what do you call them, truces, things like that. But he's a brilliant, brilliant man who's connected in the hip hop industry. Like he's had me on stage with Ludacris, DJ Quick. I mean, amazing people I've been around. And we're bringing him in. He's coming to Phoenix next week, and him and I are going to do a talk about, like, what's happening in the world, what's happening, black, white, the culture clashes, all the things that are happening. And I think when you get around someone and you get that different perspective, how do you come up in Compton and become one of the leaders of one of the most notorious gangs in the world? And his brother was killed, and they were connected to rappers that have been killed. And they're, these are, all these guys are connected in one form or another. So it's going to be interesting.
That'd be cool.
I want to see us all. Yeah. If we all ships rise to the tide, man.
For sure.
If we stand, if each of us stand for all of us, it's an amazing.
It could be a cool world.
Cool world.
It could be a cool world, man.
I like
no
question. I think it's doable too. I think it's doable.
For sure it is.
We just have to see how we get there.
Yeah.
Hopefully it doesn't have to get worse before it gets better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ideally, but
cross your fingers.
Yeah, for sure.
That's right.
So dude, this has been a phenomenal pod. I don't know how you feel, Austin.
Oh yeah, phenomenal.
You feel great. Yeah. I feel great. Yeah. I feel like 100 million. I mean, you could could do like 2 or 3 of these of these with John.
Yeah. Sure. Maybe
next time we come back, I gotta down some McKellen with you, man.
Yeah,
dude,
for sure.
we keep it there just in case. It's like it just depending on, you know what I mean, how
my boy
everybody's
Josh
feeling.
he couldn't resist it, right?
Dude, I'm telling you, man. We got into it on that one. That was another good one too, actually. Yeah.
We downed a bottle.
Yeah, for sure. That matter of fact, you're looking at right there is the result of having Josh Snow on the podcast.
On the podcast.
So I think that was a new one.
Yeah.
That was a brand new bottle.
Yeah.
I love it, man. So there's a lot. My final thing would be, and then obviously you might have some final things too, Lewis, but like a lot of young people listen to our stuff, watch our stuff, and you're older, obviously, right? You have a lot more wisdom.
More mature.
More mature. But I like the wisdom part of it. I think with age comes wisdom, right?
Yeah.
What would be your, I mean, and there's been a million things, obviously, but what would be like just like one thing where if, a younger guy or girl is trying to become an entrepreneur, start a business, become successful, make money, what do they got to do? What's kind of that one thing that they have to do? And it's like, that's your advice for them.
I would say this: check your ego. That's I have it tattooed on me now. Ego is the enemy, and I have it on the hand that I write with, so I see it all the time. Because I had to be reminded so often that when I forgot where I had a mentor said, look, when you forget where you come from, you're on your way back.
Yeah.
And I remember I made $14,000 in 1 month, and I thought I had made it. Like I was the deal. And he says, you are an idiot. And back then, you could talk to your mentorees in a certain way because you got to take it. Like I'd call him and he'd hang up on me if he didn't like what I was saying. I'm like, oh, what? I obviously I said something stupid.
And
it'd take me weeks to get him again. Nowadays, if your mentor hangs up on them, you're going to put them on blast on social media. You're going to be crying like a little girl.
Charge them back.
Charge them back. I mean, you can't do it anymore. So like even when I'm mentoring young people now, I'm like, do you want me to tell you what you want to hear or the truth? Because what I want to tell you and what will be good for you, you're not going to like. So I would just say, man, you got to work on the ego was the big thing, man. If you in the beginning for sure, even though there's like this movement of be arrogant, be cocky. I don't agree with that because they'll clap for you one day. You know, Grant Cardone's a great example. Right. You know, everyone was clapping for him one day.
They were.
His ego is, you know, he's got a big ego. Sure. But as soon as there was the little chance that there was a fall, did you see how many people showed up?
Oh, yeah, it's unbelievable.
And that's why, because it's a fake clap. It's that golf clap because your ego's big.
Right. Yeah.
But if you're a humble person and now all of a sudden if you fall, there's people like, man, how can I help you up? How can I? And it's a whole different deal, man. And we all are going to take a fall. I don't care who you are, how big you are, how big you think you are. Yeah. Check the ego. You know, like for me, I know I haven't made it. You know, I'm very aware of that. There's a lot of more things to do. Now for me, a lot of what I want to do isn't just about money. There's so many other things outside of money that I want to accomplish. But I stay humble about it, as humble as I can. You know, knowing that all my bills are paid, which helps. Sometimes it can make you a little cocky. Sometimes when someone's talking crazy on social media, I'm like, all right, well let's compare. The people lie, but numbers don't.
Yeah, that's right. I love it, man. No, that's huge. Like that was big.
Incredible.
Yeah, I love it. Do you got anything else there?
Ladies and gentlemen, we just want to say thank you for tuning in to.
Thanks for being here, John. We really appreciate it, brother.
John, thank you so much.
Where can people find you?
The best place to find me right now is Instagram. Cool. I don't have a team running that, so I like to personally engage in there. So John.Malott, Malott, 1 L, Perfect. 2 T's.
And we'll put that down below too if you guys are watching.
And he does reply to his DMs because I DM him.
Shoot him a DM, and he's, serial entrepreneur. Good guy to connect with. So let him know where you came from.
Join a venture of his. Ladies and gentlemen, if you guys are on here on YouTube, if you guys haven't already, make sure and smash that subscribe button and go ahead and hit that like button. If you guys are on anywhere other than YouTube, then definitely give us a 5-star rating. If you guys thought that you guys got some value from this episode, which obviously you guys did, so we'll see your 5-star rating down below. And as always, thank you guys for showing up, Mr. Zaback. You're the stud, bro.
That's it.
We'll see you guys in the future show.
Thank you guys.